Good afternoon. I'm going to finish the last petal on this large floral piece that I'm doing today. I've been working on this for about a month now. It's 22 by 30 inches, so pretty good size for a colored pencil piece. I'm mostly working in Caran Luminance and a little bit in Caran Pablo's. So I'm just going to show you my technique on this last petal, and then I will show you the completed piece. Hoping you like this and will subscribe and see a few more of our videos. I hope to put some more out as I work on more pieces. So what I've done so far is I've taken my pink, white, and put that down in this area here where I have some pink toned highlights in this petal. And then I have taken the Naples ochre and done an overall light coat in that to cover the entire petal, and then I can work my layers over it. As you can see, I had a little boo-boo here when I was working with my Gamsol, because I used Gamsol to blend all the background leaves. So I should be able to get that covered up well, though, with the other colors that will be in this petal. It's very vibrant. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a bright yellow. And of course, if you're working with different brands, work with whatever colors you have. You don't have to match exactly. This one is a medium cadmium. And in looking at my image, which I will show you later, I'm going to start placing in the areas in this petal that are pretty bright yellow. I'm using light pressure. Don't want to fill the tooth of the paper completely. And I'm just starting to get some of these in to start to give me the idea of where all these colors are going to go to bring this petal to life. Each image that I work on may have different things that I do to it than others, and as you work more and more with colored pencils, you'll start to be aware of what you like, what you don't like, where certain techniques are appropriate and where they're not. So for my petals on this, I am not blending them out like I am with the background leaves, because most of these will have a little bit more focus to them. I'm working again from an image that I took at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. This was probably about 14 or 15 years ago. But I do tend to keep my images around. I used to be a professional photographer, so this keeps me going in that game and gives me my own original artwork to work from, so I'm not having to copy from anyone else's work. All my work that way is original, which is what you need to have if you're going to, put these pieces in galleries or display them and enter any contests or shows. You want to have original work and original images to work from. It's nice to do your practice work on images that you can get from Pixabay and any of those kind of places, but you can't use those for competitions or anything like that. So this keeps us using original images that we have, and we don't need to share with anybody else. It's all our work, and I think that's something you can really take pride in. All right, so I've got my light yellow in. Gonna add a little bit more over here where these green shadows are coming in from the center of the flowers. And that should take care of that. I've got several shades of pencils lined up here, but you don't have to use the same ones I do. Do things your own way. Use whatever brand you have. For this piece, I really wanted to use the Caran because they're light fast and they're opaque and they're very soft and waxy, which is what I wanted for this piece. When I'm doing animal portraits and things like that, I don't often use these. I tend to do more work with transparent colors and the Faber-Castell Polychromos. But I don't want transparent here. I want pop of color. So that was a medium pink that I put over where I had previously put the pink white, because those are going to be the highlight areas on my petal. All right. Now I'm going to work with a, let's see, green ochre. I love this color. It's not green, it's not yellow, it's just a really nice blend of the two. It's a very subtle color. But again, work with what you have. So I'm shading in some of these areas back towards the center of the petal, softening them up. And I'm using light pressure, maybe between a 1 and a 2 on my pressure. I don't want to go heavy and fill all that too thin. We are going to be burnishing the petals of this piece. I've done it on all the other ones already, so at the end you'll see how I do it on this. And basically I'm working light to dark. And this starts to blend into this kind of more of a burnt ochre color in this area. So I'm going to start getting that in. And as I'm getting on more of my layers that are on top, I want to start making my pencil motions in the direction that the petal flows. So if you look closely at petals, you'll see that there's some definite lines in a lot of them that you can look at and really get a clear picture of what direction your strokes need to be in order to give your flowers or whatever you're working on that movement. So that is what I'm doing right now. And I don't make my pencils super sharp for this. They're a little bit rounded, but not completely. I want soft work. I've also got a little bit of this color coming in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and then I'll use my lighter tone to blend that out. There's a good shadow going along here. I'm going to try not to talk continuously and just let you watch what I'm doing. If you have any questions or anything, put them in the comments, and I will try to get back to you. Not during the recording of this, but I think I can go back in and leave comments for anything that you want to ask questions about. I've been working in color pencils for a couple of years now, and I really, really enjoy them. It's a very relaxing medium. When I kind of want to work on something where I can just chill out and enjoy the process, this is where I go. We'll probably come back to that color. I'm going to move around here a little bit. And I'm going to take this pale over. This is the apricot, and I'm going to go over some of the areas that I did in that burnt ochre to just give them a little bit more variety in the color for blending. And as I work toward the edge and work this color in, it starts to soften those edges up. Again, here, there's definite directional movement in the way these petals are formed. So I'm going to make sure that I add that in as I'm working on it. Little tiny circular movements. And I'm going to go lightly over these darker areas. Although I work fairly fast, I am making very deliberate movements. Now I'm working one shade darker. This is orange. And the more layers, the better. That's why we work on quality paper and not cheap paper, because it just doesn't accept the layers and layers of medium like a good quality paper will. Try not to completely go over these yellow marks that I put in previously that show kind of the veining in the flowers. I don't know if that's the technical term, but that's what I call it. I'm going to skip ahead to a little darker. This is cornelian. It's a really beautiful, rich, deep orange. Notice I'm leaving this area here. I'm not working on that yet. That's going to be a deeper, darker area where the shadow from this leaf is falling under here. don't have all my coloring in there yet, but I'm going to start working on these edges a little bit to start pulling in a little bit more contrast. This is permanent red. It's very reddish orange or orangish red, very warm red. And by working in some little circular motions in here, it's helping to blend this color into the lighter tones that I have in there already. I'm going to go ahead and put down now my first coat in this shadow area under this petal. And you see, as I'm working along the edges, I'm not just making a line that's the same width all the way around. I'm really varying it and making it more loose and more random rather than try and have strokes that are all lined up like little soldiers. You don't want that. You do not want that at all. Now I can finally start covering up my little boo-boo here. And as you're working, you know, turn your pencil so you're getting a cleaner edge here and there. You don't want to start getting it too dull. Then it's hard to get enough pressure down, especially when you're working with your darker colors. Softening that edge. We're getting there. And now I'm going to be adding a little bit of this darker red. This is Scarlet. And all the little bends and folds of the petals, you want to make sure you get those in there by creating these more random strokes and varying the thickness of your area of color. And these kind of have an angled stroke, and that's how the petals look in the image and in real life. So I want to make sure I put that in here to make it look more realistic. And remember, your image doesn't have to look exactly like the photographed. It does not need to be photorealistic. Your interpretation is all you need to do. And as I get to the edges, I'm not pressing quite as hard. That way it will give a little bit more of a blended look at the edge instead of a sharp, abrupt look. Again, angled strokes. And random strokes. And there's some real deep shadows in here, so I really want to make sure I'm getting, now that my soft pressure areas are down, now I want to get a little bit more pressure to get these deep areas of color in. And I'm really starting to fill in the tooth of the paper. And if you notice, even though I'm going along the edge here to kind of get it smooth up to the background, I'm not pressing so hard that you see a line where I'm going around the edge. It's good coverage, but it's not unrealistic looking. You don't want it to pop out. You want it smooth. A little bit more in this shadow area. We are making good progress. All right, going back to pale color. This is apricot. And I've got a lot of this apricot tone coming in here. So I'm going to put another layer on and start to press a little more firmly. Blending it out a little bit into the darker edge. I'm going and looking at my reference image and seeing where there's some little darker areas in the floral piece. Some little lighter areas in here. More directional strokes. Look at how far we've come. We are getting there. Getting my green ochre back out. Want to deepen this area a little bit. Got the red tones in there. Now we need a little bit more of these greenish gold tones in this shadow. It's going to make that shadow really pop. Now you can really start to see this soft fold coming into play. I love that. It's just a nice, soft, beautiful look. A little more blending of this into this green area from the shadows of the center. Now I'm just lightly laying on a few more areas in very light pressure to blend this kind of green ochre color out a little bit. There's a little bit of a greenish tint in here too, so I just want a little bit of it in here. I'm gonna take my Pablo Granite Rose. This is like the palest pink I have. It's not as waxy as the Luminance, so I'm just using a little bit of it in here to blend this pink out. So I want this area to be really soft. So in the pink, I've got 3 layers in this light area. I've got the pink white from Luminance, the violet pink on top of that, and then the Pablo Granite Rose on top of that. And this is, if you ever need a real beautiful light pink, this is it. This is the one to go to. All right, we're getting there. We're almost at a stopping point where we're going to be ready to do our burnishing, and we're going to do that with white. Believe me, if you haven't done it before, it sounds weird, but it turns out beautiful. I'm starting to press a little harder, and I'm blending some of these edges out. And I'm going to go around here and do that to blend out this leaf shadow. Sorry, petal shadow. Starting to look a little more natural now. Adding a little bit more in here. And even though I've covered up a lot of the yellow veining, I'm going to be able to go back in and add that. which if you're working on cheap paper, that is a struggle. So work on the best paper you can afford to work on. If you're still learning, you know, don't use tracing paper, don't use cheap sketch pads. Use something that has a little bit of tooth to it and a little bit of quality. It'll be such a difference in your work. You won't get as frustrated with it. Art should be fun, not frustrating. It should be relaxing. Coming in with my cornelian, adding a little bit more of the deep orange in here. Going to go back in with my cadmium yellow now, and I'm just going to go over a few of these areas that kind of got hidden by all the layers. It at least helped me keep my guidelines in so that I knew where I wanted to place them. So now I'm just going to go back in and reinforce those yellow marks. And it's very subtle, but it's just what we want here. One more layer of my burnt ochre, and I may be ready to start burnishing. Gonna have to give it a good look, see what it feels like and looks like. Finish is something only you can determine whether you're done or not. Oftentimes, if you're not sure, step away from it. Put it away for, a week or 5 days, and then go back and look at it and see if you're happy with it. You need that fresh look to really know if you're ready. All right. And I am ready to burnish. I'm down to my nub on this. This is my white Luminance. And sometimes after you do the burnishing, you want to go in and still deepen your tones in a few areas. So that may be something I do. But I'm taking my white, I'm using heavy pressure and just doing circular motions. And it blends these colors together just beautifully. Look at how soft that is. Like I said, I don't always burnish, but on this, it's perfect. Softening my edges, blending them into the background. Oh, my blending is nice and soft. You can see the difference that's making. And I usually work light into dark when I'm burnishing. Hope you're able to see this well enough. And I have a nice drafting brush so I can brush some of those little crumbs off. You can also use a blender pencil to do this. Sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. I used the blender pencil in some of these, but wasn't as happy with it. So then I went back over and did my burnishing again with the white, and I think it looks much better. Just kind of varies piece by piece. As you can see on this deep red, kind of washing it out a little bit, but that's not a big deal because we're just going to go back in and add a little bit more on top. I'm going to go back to my deep red, and if it's not dark enough, I may even switch to something darker. In fact, I think I'm going to. I'm going to go with my alizarin crimson, because that's really going to give me some deep shades. I've done all the burnishing, so now I'm just adding a little final polish so that these look like I want them to look. And if you want to burnish on top of this again, you can. I probably won't because it's coming out just like I want. Again, I'm going right up into that background to make sure this blends in there completely. I don't want a halo around it. Right. Let's see, I'm going to do just a little bit to blend where it goes into the lighter colors. Just to make sure it's blending softly. And around the edges to make sure it's a nice soft touch. I'm happy. I think it looks good. I'm going to take the phone off the stand 1 second so I can show you the full view of this and then the original image. And then we are done. So here we go. This is the original image that I worked from. And here is the finished piece. Pretty happy with it. Hope you are too. Like and subscribe if you're inclined to do so. Thank you.